Hello and welcome to the Finance Magnates Virtual Summit Keynote interview. Apologies for a little bit of lateness there. We experienced a few technical difficulties. LMAX Group found a 50p to put in the meter and the internet's working and we're ready to go. It's my absolute pleasure and honor to introduce to you today David Mercer from the CEO of the LMAX Group. David, thank you very much for joining Finance Magnates. Thank you very much for coming here today.
Hi Ben, good to see you.
Brilliant. And so for me personally, it's been something to look forward to. I've been in the job for a year now. I've had the pleasure of reporting a lot of your success and a lot of your achievements within that year. And so it's a good opportunity for myself and others to really find out from the horse's mouth, if you pardon the pun, exactly what's been going on there and the secrets of the success. So the LMAX Group, David, comprising LMAX Exchange, LMAX Global, and LMAX Digital, has really become a major force within the FX and crypto industry. And it's been quite a journey for you personally and the LMAX Group since you took over as interim CEO in 2011. Can you talk us through that journey, interim CEO, management buyout? Because if I'm not mistaken, at the time, the company was losing around 1.5 million a month. So,
don't remind me.
Yeah, so what made you make that decision then?
Look, you know, the story's simple. So I came in just to look at a startup, and typically there was some sort of standard startup errors had been made. So I just came in for 6 months to see whether there was any value to salvage for the shareholders. And that was a 6-month gig, to be honest. And I suppose everyone thought we'd probably close it down. LMAX stood for London Multi-Asset Exchange, and there was lots of tech projects going on involving equities and things like that. So I just looked, and there was 100 people in the company, 105 people in the company, no revenues, a lot of costs. But when I opened up the hood a little bit, I discovered that actually they built some world-leading technology. They had some excellent people. They just had focus perhaps on the wrong products, focused on the wrong client base, and in some ways hadn't finished the product. So we just put a plan together, initially a 3-year plan that said, okay, let's narrow our focus. I think that's important for LMAX Group. Even today, we try and have a singular focus. You know, that's my advice, if you like, to any budding entrepreneurs out there, is to have a singular focus and to have the perseverance and persistence required to follow that single focus no matter what. So we just focused on the world's largest asset class, foreign exchange. Of course, I had to refinance the company, so shareholders put in some more money, etc. I finished the product. Sorry?
Remortgaged your place?
No, that was later, actually. This was initially I was, at that stage, still just an employed CEO with some equity options. And halfway through that 3-year plan, which was to get to break even, the shareholders themselves changed focus, and they decided they didn't really want to be in capital markets anymore. So it was then that I ran around the city trying to raise some money, given it was quite a short time frame, 6 weeks or so, and ultimately decided that we just buy it ourselves. So we did an MBO, and myself and the team helped me out, raised 3.6 million to buy the company. Back then, ended up closing the deal at the start of 2013. And then that's really where I see the LMAX Group you see today being born, because suddenly we weren't just employees. Suddenly we had real skin in the game. I had a real team that believed. I had a team that was brave enough to believe that we could win in the FX space. We had some runway in terms of finance. I appointed some excellent financial advisors and legal advisors who are with us today. And then we got on with it, and we were totally in control, totally independent, and in fact we are today. So you know, we're 100% employee manager owned today, and you know, we just continued with our plan really, which was to get to break even within 3 years. We did that. When we did the MBO at the time, we were losing $800,000 a month. So hats off really to the team around me. And that's just shows you our belief. I mean, I'd say one thing to everyone out there: entrepreneurs are people who take risk with their own money. There's an awful lot of entrepreneurs out there who are minority shareholders and backed by private equity and venture capital. But, myself and the team, we wrote our own checks. And yet, you jokingly said it, but a lot of my team remortgaged their house and their houses, went to family members, raised the money. However, there was no external financing here. So we had to write our own checks. We had to have the courage of our convictions. We believed in the product. We believed in the product that today is LMAX Group.
And there's nothing like a motivating factor than having a vested interest in your workplace as well, or it should be. And so you said that you had a 3-year plan to break even, and it was actually in 2014 you broke even, I believe. And so moving forward to where we are today, the LMAX Group is listed I've got a list of the achievements here. I feel like Eamon Andrews in This Is Your Life, and you're one of the only few people that will get that gag. So you're listed in the Deloitte Fast 50, the Sunday Times Tech Track 100. You're the fastest growing fintech company for 3 years. And from my point of view, Finance Magnets has reported your record profits in 2019, record half profits in 2020, and a plethora of other records broken. Can you explain, say, the secret of the success, the distinct LMAX business model, and what you attribute the success to?
3 things, really, right? Maybe 4 actually. I'll give you the 4th at the end. But there's no great secret in that. You have to have, in this industry, in capital markets today, in FX today, you have to have great technology. I believe we have great technology. We've always had great technology before me. And we've continued to invest in it. It's my singular biggest investment is technology every year. I mean, you don't just set it and forget it. You must continue building it. We rewrite about 1/3 of our code every year. We don't have legacy technology. So we're always expanding our technology stack, always enhancing it. And number 1 on that list every year is performance and capacity, always trying to raise the bar higher. The second bit is the team around you. I'm very fortunate to have a fantastic team of FX specialists, first and foremost, and now crypto specialists. I mean, people talk about our competitors out there and the great securities exchanges that enter the FX space, but I believe they lack the 3rd bit, which is a singular focus. Our singular focus is to build world-leading exchanges, and initially in foreign exchange, and then secondarily in crypto with LMAX Digital. So those are the 3 things, really: technology, people, focus. And the 4th bit, never forget it. And if any entrepreneur doesn't mention this, then they're being a little bit disingenuous, right? The 4th bit is a bit of luck. Okay, so that luck can be with the people around you. That can be with your first client. That can be with the macro environment around you. So never dismiss that. And if you read any business book, the best leaders, I think, in the planet, or people that I would look up to and people I would follow, they always have a little bit of that in their corner.
Out of interest, who are those people that you look up to and follow?
You name it. I've read most business books. But look, there's no one individual, because most of them you find are flawed. There's flaws in some ways. You can always find a way to criticize Steve Jobs. You can always find a way to criticize Elon Musk or Richard Branson. There's always a way, but you can always criticize someone who's done an MBA or someone that hasn't done an MBA.
Yeah.
But I think, we've got to take a little bit of learnings from all of them. And likewise, I look within our own capital markets industry, and I look at people who've had success, and I look at the great banks around us. I mean, people forget that the likes of JP Morgan was actually an individual. And, one of the things he said was, do you know how often I speak to my clients? Not once a day, not once a week, not once a month, 10 times a day. Why does he do that? He does that because he knows they're not speaking to anyone else. So lots of influences, and I think some of the best leaders out there, certainly if you look at some of the greatest investors of our time, Warren Buffett, etc. They read a lot. I read a lot. They study a lot. And they're not always, their diaries aren't always full. So that's something which has taken a long time for me to learn, maybe 30 years. Sometimes you feel when you're an employee, when you're working in big organizations, that your diary's going to be packed between 8 and 6. That's just not effective. That's not efficient, right? There's a great quote with Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, and they say, busy is the new stupid. So I try and have massive gaps in my diary every day, every week, every month, because that's time when you can think, and that's time when you can come up with the next new thing.
Sound advice. And so here we are today, David. The LMAX Group, to me, still remains very much in high expansion mode. Probably the one that sticks out was the recent acquisition in Cyprus, which to me was a strong signal of intent. Can you elaborate on what growth plans you have in the region?
Sure. I mean, Cyprus or a European extension is key for anyone based in the UK. That's just it. We had to start looking at that 4 years ago, right? As soon as we had the referendum and we had this uncertainty around offering our products in Europe, we had to look to have a European base. Now, for foreign exchange, for the CFD landscape, Cyprus has built itself to be a leader in that sphere. Absolutely. The regulator is well regarded. They have a well thought out framework. So in a way that was obvious. I mean, people talked about Paris and Frankfurt and Berlin. It's just, I don't have a big hub there of clients to start with. Never mind technology or foreign exchange expertise. So Cyprus was obvious. And I think Brexit or no Brexit, you see this hub of activity, this hive of activity, the number of FX brokers there, the number of clients there, the access points to Southern Europe, the access points to the Middle East. And if I go further afield, we're by no way complete yet as a group. In my opinion, we're just getting started. The best companies in the world take decades to become the top of their tree. We're not even a decade old yet, right? Especially if you look at it from an MBO standpoint. So we need to keep expanding. You know, we've got operations now in 11 countries. Who knows? That's probably going to be 25 countries within the next decade. And Cyprus was just the first and most obvious in Europe. But if you look at what we do in Asia Pacific, I've got offices in Tokyo, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in Auckland. So that has to expand. I need to get closer to my client base, and I need to create centers of excellence globally. Now, those centers of excellence might be sales and distribution, there might be regulation, there might be technology. So if you look at my Auckland office, that's a center of excellence for technology. And Cyprus, I think, will be a center of excellence for distribution and client service.
Brilliant. And so staying with, say, growth and expansion, I mean, it'd be impossible not to talk about LMAX Digital. LMAX Digital recently launched Exchange within, I think, just 2 years, trading over $10 billion, $10 billion, and now become a leading spot cryptocurrency exchange. And so what's next for LMAX Digital and you and in crypto in general? I'd love to hear your opinions on this.
World domination. No, it's, look, I think it's first of all, let's start right at the top. If you don't think blockchain technology is going to change capital markets, I suggest you exit stage left now. It's going to change everything we do in the next decade. Primarily, that starts from payment and settlement, so the back end. It's going to change everything we do in traditional capital markets. Now, what you've seen over the past few years is an amazing resilience of the crypto product. So we're now today at all-time highs, not quite all-time highs, sorry, that was December 17, but you've seen it break through 18,000 again, and the market cap is higher than ever. So, you know, we were basically approached by our institutional customer base in FX and said, David, we need something industrial-like, an institutional exchange to transfer risk and to trade with like-minded participants. And that was 3 years ago. So look, today will be a great day for us. You know, I think already we've traded over 600 million of Bitcoin. We trade $10 billion a month for sure. Yesterday was 700 million. So we'll probably do $1 billion today, and I think every day going forward. But we haven't even scratched the surface. So 37% of my digital client base trade another product with us. What's missing is I have 34 of the world's biggest banks trading on LMAX Exchange. Now, not one of them are trading digital yet.
Okay.
I can tell you that we're in a lot of conversations with some of the biggest banks in the world who have to offer this product to their client base. That will happen in 2021, 2022. That will be fantastic, not only for LMAX Digital, it will be great for the whole landscape, for the whole of capital markets, and will really establish crypto assets as the asset class of the future. I firmly believe that if you look forward 5 years, this partition wall you see at the moment between traditional asset classes and digital asset classes will be knocked down. So it's just a matter of time before you see the S&P traded against Bitcoin or a stable coin. People trading decentralized or centralized multi-assets with digital assets and crypto assets as the core. So, you know, I think we all need to get with the program. We need to learn from it. We have to help it evolve. And I'm pretty sure, you know, LMAX Digital today is the #1 institutional exchange. That's just a fact. You can look at all the league tables out there. The only exchange that trades more than us in Bitcoin every day would be maybe the biggest retail exchange. But otherwise, we're in, you know, we're the top 1 institutionally, and we're typically in the top 1 to 3 globally. So again, we're just starting. I believe that every exchange takes around 7 years to get going, to get that depth of participant, not just depth of liquidity. Okay. So that you can print volumes in low volatile environments and high volatile environments. So, you know, LMAX Digital's 2 and a bit years old right now. So we're just getting started. We're #1, but I expect our volumes to be multiples of what they are today, and I expect it to become a very valuable part of the LMAX Group.
Excellent. A genuine watch this space then.
I'd say so. I mean, sorry, I didn't answer the second part of your question, which is what's next. I mean, it's inevitable that we'll go into new products. So to be clear, it's an exchange group only works well with highly liquid products. So foreign exchange is the most liquid asset class in the world. So we can list 80 currency pairs, but there are many more available. Mm-hmm. In LMAX Digital, we only list the top five coins, starting with Bitcoin. But there are hundreds of altcoins. There's just not enough liquidity in them. So for a start, we need to go deeper into those coins when they become liquid, list those, create an order book, create an ecosystem for those. And then it's also inevitable that we'll move into the derivative space. There's no one has a God-given right to own the derivative space just because they happen to do it in currency futures, for example. Yeah. But yeah, my eyes are on that prize. My eyes are on those big shops down the road here or in Chicago. The guys that don't really believe in crypto, because all they really offer you is a non-deliverable forward, right? And they call it a future, right? Fiat settled crypto future. That adds nothing to the ecosystem. So, you know, watch this space. It's inevitable in the next year or two that we'll move into the derivative space, and it's our intention to be the #1 club in spot and derivatives for LMAX Digital.
That's a verbal contract. It's out there now. It's a statement to go by. And so I want to just take you to COVID. The coronavirus pretty much dominated, managed to avoid it so far, pretty much dominated 2020. I mean, the massive impact upon profits on the upside. What have been the biggest challenges and opportunities that COVID has presented so far?
Challenges, I think the key challenge for everyone, first of all, was worldwide. I mean, how do we look after individuals and their family? That's genuinely the problem. There was a lot of fear around in February and March. So how do you operate and also look after people's mental and physical well-being? So that was the first big challenge. I think as industries and as world nations, we've done okay in that. As an industry, in the FX industry and in the digital industry, we had to prove that we could operate. I mean, if you look at LMAX Group, it would be 150 people in the office any given day. We went to 8. And, your lead regulator in the UK says, David, you're essential financial market infrastructure. How are you going to operate? So big challenge there. Now, we're fortunate because we're highly technical and we've been remote enabled for a decade. We opened 5 exchanges on a Sunday night remotely. So with very minimal office presence any given weekend. And we operate 7 days a week. Most of that is also, Saturday, Sunday is mostly remote. So met that challenge. And then the next challenge is really, how do you grow? How do you prosper? No one knows how long this is going to last. Yeah. No one knows when the next one will be. How do you train the next leaders? How do you mentor the next leaders? How do you develop your staff? How do you develop your product? How do you engage with your customer base? So, and I'm not going to say we're not Twitter. Perhaps not, we're certainly not big enough, don't have that scale to just say, okay, let's go remote first. I think it's difficult for an SME to be 100% remote first, but the future will no longer be huge offices in towers in London and Manhattan. It will be more flexible. It will be more remote. But in that sense, I'd say to you in terms of opportunity, wow, right? Suddenly your talent pool is global. Yeah. So we've known this for a little while. We started building technology down in Auckland as well as London 6 years ago because we had some very talented individuals who frankly just wanted to go home. They didn't want to leave. Normally they just leave the company. I didn't want them to leave the company. So we started building technology down there. But imagine if I can suddenly hire the best low latency experts in Silicon Valley, in New York, in Chicago, 24-hour development, 24-hour distribution, 24-hour markets, 7 days a week markets. So I think with it, we've all had to get an accelerated MBA, if you like, an accelerated degree in remote working over the past 9 months. And I think we'll all be better for it. So I think there's huge opportunity. When you look at the markets themselves, again, look, everyone out there somehow involved in foreign exchange or crypto, they should give themselves a pat on the back, frankly, because these two markets held up remarkably well at the start of the pandemic. So you saw the sell-off in equities. You saw the fact that people were paying you to buy oil. You saw the dislocation in gold. It simply wasn't moving. Foreign exchange, the most liquid asset class in the world, operated. Sure, there was volatility, but there was liquidity, there was depth. And then you look at the digital space, look at the crypto space. The Bitcoin graph, back when it traded down, it dropped from 10,000 down to 4,000. The graph, there was no end. It's just a falling knife. It said it was going to zero. It didn't. But it went to 1 to 0. Oil went to 0 and beyond.
Crazy.
So the resilience of that asset class was good to see. And I think gives everyone confidence in the years ahead. Yeah. So again, I'd say to everyone in FX and crypto, well done. We withstood a significant shock. And that will only stand us all in good stead going forward.
Brilliant. Well, so going forward, David, the last question, I need to know, I'm sure the viewers here would like to know, plans for the LMAX Group. We've got you're London based. You said about not being in London, big London office blocks. You're London based. We've got Brexit looming. We haven't talked about Brexit. And there's a post-COVID-19 landscape to plan for. I mean, how do you plan for the post-COVID landscape, Brexit, and basically LMAX Group over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think it's massively exciting. So look, you know, if you run any business, if you run LMAX Group, you've got to build and you're in capital markets, you've got to build a business for all seasons. You don't know what's coming at you next. You know, I'm old enough to have been through the Asian crisis in 97, the Russian default in 98, 2008 subprime, S&B, everyone remembers well, 2015. And now we have COVID, we have Brexit. You've got to build a business that can exist in all seasons.
Yeah.
Anyone can float on a rising tide, right? It's when the tide's going out, right, that you need to be able to operate. So I think it's hugely exciting. You put them all in the hat. You say COVID, you say Brexit, you say low interest environment, a change in the presidency, higher taxes, yeah, just challenges. Well, capital markets has been around a long time. Foreign exchange has been around a long time. Derivatives now have been around a long time. You have to build your business that can exist in all of those, and hopefully in all of those times, and hopefully you'll be able to ride that wave that I just discussed. So for LMAX Group, again, singular focus. Singular focus. We want to become one of the preeminent exchange groups in the world. So what does that mean? We're not there yet. We need to be the #1 central limit order book for foreign exchange. We need to be the #1 central limit order book for cryptocurrencies. That's it. So that's our focus. That's what we're aiming to do in the next 5 years. You can come to my office and you'll see LMAX 2025 is on the wall. That's our focus. That's what we need to deliver. We've made some good steps in the last decade. The next decade should be even more exciting. And yeah, back to something you discussed earlier, you know, distribution is key. So expect us to have more and more overseas operations. We haven't got every client in the world yet. We need to have every client onboarded. There'll be a lot of people watching this who don't get trade with LMAX Group. So I need to pick up the phone. I can't just rely on them. I need to keep telling them why we have a better product. So that's it. That's simple. I love what I do. I'm very fortunate again to have a fantastic team around us. We now have a proven brand. So it's time to put the foot down, give everyone else something to think about, and hit that singular focus of being the leading exchange group in the world.
Brilliant. And staying in London, do you think, I mean, on a personal note, because I'm a North London boy myself, do you think London can retain its as a financial services hub?
For sure. I mean, I'm born and bred in Belfast, but I'm a proud Londoner, having been here for well over 30 years now. London has the infrastructure, the talent, the history to be the best capital market in the world, but we cannot rest on our laurels. I talked to some of the leading lights allegedly in some of the politicians, and they need to help us. They need to invest, and they need to invest in talent. They need to invest in technology, and they need to come up with an efficient tax regime. Otherwise, businesses will just leave the great city of London. Some already have, and they're not coming back in a hurry. You hear about some of the leading banks setting up in European operations in Frankfurt, in Amsterdam. They're not coming back in a hurry because they're like an oil tanker, right? It takes a long time to move them. They've moved. So we need to hold on to what we have. And can I just say, I'd love London to maintain its position as the leading entrepreneurial center on the globe. Second only probably to Silicon Valley, but we need some help there with policy. But I think, yes, here to stay. But again, LMAX Group, I'm not going to be foolish about it. I'm not sitting here with saying that it always has to be UK. We have 11 offices globally. Yeah. Right? We have a hub in Singapore. We have a hub in New York City. We have a hub in London. Right? As we just talked about it previously about Cyprus, about Auckland, about Hong Kong, about Singapore. There's more to come. So it's relatively easy for us to operate our business anywhere. If it becomes too problematical in the UK, who knows? Maybe James Dyson was right. I hope not. And I hope that sometimes someone at number 10 listens and they help us create an entrepreneurial society and create opportunity and jobs. I mean, it's very important that everyone understands that. It's entrepreneurs who create opportunity and jobs. The enterprise economy is essential for the United Kingdom to remain at the forefront of international trade and, of course, capital markets.
Placing a lot of confidence in this government's ability. A lot of confidence.
You know, it shouldn't be this government or any particular government. Doesn't matter what color they are, right? They need tax revenues. They need GDP to go up. It's very simple. They need to create opportunity, right, for the youth. And the way to do that is to invest in the enterprise economy, right? We can't all be civil servants. Someone has to pay for the civil servants. It's as simple as that. So I hope, again, the 3 T's I mentioned earlier: technology, taxation, and talent. Make those 3 investments. The great and the good, and the UK will only thrive post-Brexit.
Amen. Brilliant. David, thank you very much on that bombshell of Britain's continued brilliance and dominance in the world. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your insight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Everybody listening, viewing this, they can view the website, see it again. I'm sure they want to. And thank you all.
Thanks, Ben.
Cheers.